St. Peter's in? St. James. That's my mistake.
Sorry, we're leaving.
If that's what you're going to do, that's what it's going to be like. Oh, I so apologize for that. No, I know you are. I greatly apologize.
Well, we have, in the LCRC, we have St. Paul's down West Falls. And there's,
No, there was one that did Coke in the.
oh, it's, yeah, Niagara Falls.
Okay, I think they still do Coke.
And I was at St. Paul's earlier this morning.
Oh,
So,
we'll excuse you then.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know if you noticed, a lot of Lutheran churches share the same name. St. Paul, St. Peter, Holy Trinity, Good Shepherd. Our Saviors is the worst, because you can have our Saviors, our Saviors, apostrophe S, no apostrophe S, Savior, S-A-V-I-O-R, S-A-V-I-O-U-R, with the apostrophe S. I mean, it is, right? But,
Just
so,
put Saint S.
yeah. But it is a pleasure to be with you all here this morning. You got it. Oh, that is perfect. I assume you're going to be able to hear me okay anyways, but this is for the live stream, so if people are not here, they will be able to hear me that way as well. So, but thank you for having me this afternoon. It is a pleasure to be here. As Pastor Kurt said, my name is Tim Krick. I am a pastor. I'm ordained in the ELCA, but I now do this full-time with Lutheran World Relief. And what this is, that's a great question, thank you for asking, is I do three things. And actually, I've got to meet with Pastor Randy a couple times before, which was fantastic.
From St. Paul's?
Well done. I'm going to like this group. I do three things. First and foremost, I come to say thank you. I have the privilege, I get to travel actually a fair amount, which is good and bad. I live in Dover, New Hampshire with my family, and I work with congregations in the Northeast, and that means New Jersey and up, including this part of New York, a good portion of the Midwest, and that is Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, Missouri, and all of Texas. So I do a lot of meeting with pastors and with quilting groups and councils, Sunday morning worship, preaching. I primarily come to say thank you. You see the pain and hurt that's going on in the world, right? And it breaks your heart. And you want to do something about it. And so you have devoted your time, your energy, your resources, money, your love. And you've entrusted those with Lutheran World Relief to get it and distribute it to people all over the world. You could do that with any other or many other organizations, but yet you continually choose to do it through Lutheran World Relief. I just want to say thank you for that. It is greatly appreciated, both congregations through quilting and giving financially, right? Because quilts don't ship for free, do they? They don't. And we do so, and this is what we're going to talk about, we do so much more work besides just quilts and care kits. And so we're going to talk about all of that. And the reason I want to talk about that is because once you give, you also want to know what happens when you give, right? How many people like to give to a black hole? You don't. We see something that happens. We act to do something about it. And we just want to know what we chose to do made a difference. I want to tell you about the difference you are having, whether it's quilt making, kit making, right? School kits are out there, I saw, right? School kits out there that I saw. Giving financially, it makes a difference in people's lives. It makes a big difference to a lot of people, and you're going to hear how it makes differences to individuals and their families. Because if we know what happens when we give, what are we likely to do again? I like how you said give more. Thank you. To give more. How many people like to turn on the news right now? And I'm not even talking about political divisiveness. I'm just talking about heartbreak, right? It's a flooding in Texas. We still hear about war in Ukraine. I mean, all of these things where people's lives are upended. You know, we don't like to turn on the news because if we see it, it hurts, and we feel like we need to do something about it. We all know the phrase, ignorance is bliss, right? It's true. I said that to a friend once, and my friend right back, he goes, yeah, you're right, Tim, it is bliss. But remember this, it is not good. Because ignorance comes at a cost. And I'm not the one who pays the cost. It is always the vulnerable people in the world who pay the cost for the rest of our ignorance. Right? If we don't know, then we can't be expected to do anything about it. But are we called to be ignorant people as followers of Jesus? We are not, are we? We are called to allow our hearts to be broken and then to do something about what we see happen in the world. The church does not exist for itself, right? I don't know if Pastor Kurt or Pastor Randy, you guys use the lectionary scriptures on Sunday? Right? Were any of you in church on Sunday? I'm going to test you. Do you know what the scripture was on Sunday? Store for yourself treasures in, right? It was all about this person who had so much, he had to build bigger barns. That doesn't happen in our world today, does it? We are not called to store more stuff and keep it for ourselves. We are called to use what we have for the benefit of others. That's what you're doing when you partner with Lutheran World Relief. You are using your gifts, your resources, your finances, your love for the benefit of others. To me, that is the heart of what it means to follow Jesus, because that's what Christ did, right? Christ did what was for benefit of us, not for the benefit of himself. And we're called to follow Christ. So that's what we're going to do over the next 2 hours. That sound good? I do want to be mindful of time. I have 2:15. What time do we need to be either eating snacks or leaving snacks and going home?
We don't have a time limit, but...
You don't want to say that to a pastor. But go ahead.
No, yeah.
Okay.
I'd say if we can keep the whole event around an hour.
You got it. We'll be heading down by 3 o'clock. Does that sound good at the latest? So half hour, 45 minutes we'll be in here, and then we'll go down? Perfect. So, Lutheran World Relief started 45 years ago. As you saw this first slide, we are celebrating 80 years of LWR. Started in 1945 in the aftermath of World War II to help our neighbors in Europe. I'm sorry, I totally blinked for a moment. To help our neighbors in Europe rebuild our lives, right? It was a time of crisis that Lutherans have a history of stepping into that time of crisis. There is a need. How do we meet that need? We have grown from that time, 80 years ago, to now we have somehow been active over the last 12 months, over the last year, been active in 36 countries around the world. That could be quilts going out there, right? That could be any number of various kind of projects that we'll talk about as well. But I used to say, and there's another time of crisis going on. What I did say, let me put it this way. We have been working in the last 12 months in 36 countries. I used to say we're currently working. There's a difference there, isn't there? We have been drastically impacted by the cutting of USAID. Our funding comes from 3 places: congregations, individuals, and grants. And grants, the biggest giver of grants was the U.S. government, and the biggest grants within the U.S. government was USAID. And so that counted for about 35% of our funding. Now, we will be around for the next 80 years, right? You don't give because we're having a hard time. But because of the cutting of USAID, our vulnerable neighbors are having a hard time. There's 2 stats I'd like to share with you that really stick out in my head. Do anyone know the population of the United States? Approximately? Yeah, I think you said 350 million. I heard 330, but we're in the same ballpark. 330 to 350 million. Do you know how many people in the world are suffering from acute hunger? And there's different levels of hunger. There can be food insecure to acute hunger, which means you're on the brink of starvation. We'll do prices right. Higher or lower than the population in the United States? It's higher. There are more people in the world on the brink of starvation than there are population of the United States. We disagree on a lot of things in this world, right? We ought to be able to agree there should not be 340, 350 million people on the brink of starvation. That is wrong. That is wrong. We are asked to do something about it. The other thing that really sticks with me too is just a couple weeks ago, there's a new study came out of a school in London. Because of the cutting of USAID, they estimate in the next 5 years, 14 million people will die because of it, with a third of them being children under the age of 5. Because organizations like us don't have the funding we did to do the work we do. It is always the most vulnerable people who suffer the most when tragedy strikes. Always. I am such a privileged person in my life. You know, I think about what I have. If tragedy would fall on me, not that it wouldn't be hard. Let's be honest, it would be hard, right? And I have so many support systems in my life. In the end, I would be okay. Whether it's my wife, my kids, my parents, my in-laws, my siblings, right? My neighbors. Depending on what occurred, there'd be other people around to help, insurance, you know, that kind of stuff. Not everybody, vast majority of the people don't have that. We want to step into that space and help those people that are struggling, because we are the ones who are tempted to build bigger barns, aren't we? I mean, that's us. And yet we are called not to store up treasures for ourselves, are we? We're called to use our gifts for others. Thank you for using your gifts to help others. On this map, too, one of the newest countries is the United States that's highlighted, because we are now starting to work in disaster response, disaster relief in the United States. And that started with, coming up on a year ago, the hurricanes in North Carolina and Florida, continue with the wildfires, and now is happening with flooding in Texas. Within 12 hours of people being evacuated and in a gymnasium, they had your quilts and personal care kits around their shoulders and in their hands. Because we are now starting to pre-position materials around the United States so they can get out to people faster, right? You don't have floods in Texas, but our warehouse has everything in Minneapolis. It's not a fast process to get stuff down there. But if we can have it nearby, already locally stored, other local organizations can have access to it and distribute it. And so that's what happened. Catholic Relief Services had set up a station in a local school in a gymnasium where people were housed who had lost their homes, and they had quilts and personal care kits, Lutheran World Relief ones, and distributed them to those people in that school within 12 hours of them being evacuated. So this is my colleague, Fred, who's going to talk briefly about the work there.
We're in Krick County, Texas, the heart of the recent flooding disasters. The Guadalupe River is right behind us. It's the scene of some major devastation. As you look around this area, there are houses that have been completely destroyed. Roads are washed out, bridges are washed out. As you see, there's been just a tremendous amount of damage. And then on top of that, it's been the heartbreaking loss of life, especially so many children lost. It's really a difficult scene here. Lutheran World Relief, with our partners, we're here trying to support the community. We are distributing relief supplies such as food, water, blankets, personal hygiene kits and baby kits, anything that we can do to help. We've been meeting with local partners and local volunteers and trying to get a better understanding of everything that's needed. Communities, families have lost everything they have, and so we desperately ask for your support as we try to assist these communities in times of need. Thank you.
So you have been part of that relief effort that happened right away, that is still ongoing. So thank you for doing that. So I started to say there's 3 primary ways in which we work in the world. Most people are familiar with that circle on the right, quilts and kits, right? Curious, how long have people been quilting for? 5 years, raise your hand. Right? Keep it up. 10 years? 15? 20? 25? 30? Yeah. Generations. Generations. Right? Your mother started the one here. 1970. Right? Wow. Thank you. Thank you for doing that, right? So that's how so many people know of us. Fantastic work that is being done. But that's only one of the 3 ways in which we work. We all know the old adage, right? If you give someone a fish, you feed them for a day, right? You teach someone to fish, you feed them for a lifetime. We think it's either or, it's really both and. It's a both and. Give someone a fish is that emergency humanitarian response. That is what you saw in Texas. That's war in Ukraine, earthquakes in Turkey, violence in South Sudan, Democratic Republic of Congo, right? Displacement camps that we're working in, medical, what do people need to simply to survive the day? And we would like to live in a world in which Lutheran world relief does not need to exist. Wouldn't that be nice? So we always want to approach our work asking ourselves, what is causing poverty, suffering, and injustice to persist? And how do we address it at root systemic causes, in root systemic ways? We don't just want to be a Band-Aid, but let's understand better what's really going on. That is that middle one, long-term sustainable development. You got to do both. You could live next to the best school in the world, but if you don't know where your next meal is coming from, it doesn't matter, does it? Sometimes you just have to give someone a fish. That's an emergency humanitarian response. And once you get these basic needs met, how do we lift people up? That is long-term sustainable development. So what I like to do is talk a little bit about all of those, beginning with quilts and kits. That's where we're going. Sound good for everybody? This next video takes place in Democratic Republic of Congo in a displacement camp, and it does a great job of highlighting all 3 ways. You'll hear about quilts and kits, you'll see emergency humanitarian response, and you'll see long-term sustainable work.
Bananza uwaua watu na njo vile kukimbia kwetu, mtu alikuwa anakamata tu mtoto, unakamata mwingine anaenda huku, mwingine huku. Pale bwana alikuwa alishakufa. Si kulima ilishia pale na vyenyewe tuliachaka mu mashamba yote bakejivunia. Si nyumba bakebomola na nyumba bakebomola. Na leo humu batoto hawasome. Si vale tungali tu hivi. Kufika hapa Kanyaruchinya hatukukuwa na chochote, tulikimbia vile, hatukukuwa na chakula, tukelala nje, mvule kekwe na tuponda, tukaanza jenga bimashashe na kujenga tukupataka msaada yoyote mbele, lakini ima mena ishukuru ilianza tupatia msaada na kuikala hapa. Ima ilitujengea wese, ikekuya iketujengea wese kwenda kusaidiana, lakini ima ilifika ikeleta muradi ya aveke, nikaingia muaveke. Tulikuwa tunaikala tunapachika mkono, wengine wanaenda mpori wanabakwa. Lakini wakati alituletea veke, tulianza kuchuruza. Ule mumoya njo mwenye iko pale kubarabara ule fie, naye kumutia tu pale ni kusema asiende tena kule kupori, juu kule kupori maviolence ni za mingi, wanapakapaka watu ovyo ovyo, naye hata ni mumoya wa wahanga. Ima ikinipatia franga, Ima tunamshukuru kwa kazi yote ambayo ilitufanyizia.
You know, I loved what you said. LWR, the quilts brought, did anyone catch it? Happiness. To me, that's so much of what you do does. It is a tangible sign of hope. It's a tangible sign of love. It doesn't solve their problems, right? She's still in a displacement camp right now. And yet, you were able to bring a bit of happiness, hope, joy to her because of the quilts that you made. So thank you for doing that. It also makes me think again, I will talk frequently about the privilege I have in my life. I used to, Pastor Kurt and I were talking beforehand. I was telling him, because we were at Luther at the same time. He was just a year ahead of me. Graduated in 95. I hope I'm not sharing too much about your age there now, right? I graduated in 96, and so we were sharing our stories. Where have we been since Luther to where we are now? And like I said, I was a pastor at a church in Appleton, Wisconsin for about 10 years. Great place, right? One of the things I like best about it, it was a very affordable place to live. I have 3 kids. They're now 23, 21, and 19. When we were in Wisconsin, we had a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house. Nice big yard. It was great. We moved out to New Hampshire. I currently live in Dover, New Hampshire. And we moved out there. It's a beautiful area, but my kids were 15, 13, and 11. And we can only afford a 3-bedroom, 1.5-bath house that was $100,000 more. 1.5 baths with 3 teenagers, right? That I did not want to buy the house because of that. She was happy that they built latrines for the displacement camp she was staying in. And you saw the pictures of the latrines. How many people would be like, oh, I got to go to the bathroom. Great, I'm so glad this is what we found. Right? How many people don't like to use the gas station bathroom because you never know the condition of it? It just reminds me again of my privilege that I have and what I'm called to do, how I'm asked to use it, right? It's not a question about whether we have it, it's what do we do with it. I think what we get wrong when we talk about privilege, we often think, oh, you didn't work, you have privilege. I think people who have privilege can work very hard. And what do you do with the privilege you have? My hard work, this is really what it comes down to me for privilege. Equal work does not yield equal results, right? Because of the situation I was born and raised in, my work can go toward whatever I really want it to. I'm not worried about fleeing violence after my spouse was killed, right? My wife, in her case, her husband, with kids, and having to go somewhere where there is no space for me and try and eke out the day just to stay alive. So what am I asked to do with the privilege I have? As Christ, we're asked to live on behalf for the benefit of the most vulnerable among us. That's what you're doing. Thank you. So real quick, you can see in these 7 camps in the DRC, there were 6,000 personal care kits, 9,000 quilts distributed, 18,000 bars of soap, 2,300 households were disinfected, and 17,000 people gained access to toilets and showers. Basic hygiene, right, that they were hoping for. So thank you for being part of that. Anyone looking to see if maybe you made one of those quilts? So we'll talk a little bit about our quilts and kits. This is actually, I had the opportunity to go to Ukraine 2 years ago to see the work that we're doing there, and this was actually taken 4 miles from the Russian border and previously Russian-occupied territory of Ukraine. And a little boy looking at these quilts that his mom had collected, and as she was being interviewed and sharing her story, he was looking at the quilts that he was going to bring home. Real quick, this is just in 2024, and I think I saw, Pastor Kurt, you have this map out front, right? Do you have it, Pastor Randy, or do people know from St. James, if you have this poster? I have one for you, all right? So please make sure you take it with you when you go. But this is just where they've gone just this past year to 16 different countries, almost 700,000 quilts and kits, 370,000 quilts is where they've gone throughout the year. You know, and this gives you an idea. This is why we can now work in the United States. It's not an instead of. I haven't gotten that question before. Well, you guys were always international. Are you just not going to do as much work there anymore and now just work in the United States? And the answer is no. Quilts keep coming in because you all keep making them. And we want them to be used, right? How many people want their quilts sitting in a storehouse? So if they keep coming in and we have the capability of helping others, then we're going to do that. So it's not a instead of, it's an in addition to the work that's happening around the world. Yes? Oh, some quilts that stayed here through another organization. Yeah, thank you, right? I mean, that's the thing. We don't think churches we're exclusive to them, right? Find what you can. Our goal is to be an avenue, a tool for you to reach places you wouldn't be able to go on your own, right? That's primarily why we've always been overseas. You guys can't get there. So you can get there through us. I'm not sure what this video is, but we're about to find out. Does it say, can you read the...
80-year anniversary video.
Oh, all right. Oh, this we just got. This is, I don't know even know if I've shown it to any groups yet. 80th anniversary of quilting.
You are the fabric of Lutheran World Relief. For 80 years, your hands have crafted God's work. Your hearts have shared God's love. Your compassion has spanned oceans and borders to comfort neighbors in need. For 80 years, you have stitched over 28 million quilts. You have bundled nearly 29 million kits, embracing countless families in 136 countries. For 80 years, your love has traversed the globe. Reaching your neighbors experiencing hurricanes and earthquakes, conflict and war, famine and drought, wildfires and flooding, to the farthest and hardest to reach places surrounding the most vulnerable. You are God's light, the answer to prayers. You give warmth and comfort, dignity and hope. You remind your neighbors they are not alone, that we are tied together and bound in Christ's love. For 80 years you have served others, and with your support, we will continue for the next 80 until we reach every neighbor. Thank you for your loving and life-changing compassion.
Think the generations that have been part of that, right? Your mom who started it here, your mom who is doing it, right? Part of those 80 years, right? All of those quilts, 28 million quilts over the years. Think about when they left you, right? They all get inspected at one of the warehouses, right? To make sure they're at the right size, they don't have symbols that we can't have on when they go out, but they get bundled up. And think about who's that next person who really appreciates it? Who is it over their shoulders? Who's being tucked underneath? What country is that in? Right? Over 80 years, 28 million quilts. That's pretty incredible. This has been some of our response in Hurricane Milton. and Helene that we were talking about earlier. 7 different states, 60,000 quilts, 76,000 kits, and 500,000 cash grants. So empowering other organizations that are active there to give them the resources they need to help others. But that's what you are part of.
So the rivers had risen, the ground was saturated, and Veterans Restoration Quarters is right upon the Swannanoa River. That river began to come towards the Veterans Restoration Quarters.
They
staff
housed
there
homeless
and
veterans.
men there realized they needed to evacuate.
And the only thing I heard was the police saying it's a mandatory evacuation. They told us to grab something, you know. But, you know, you weren't thinking about, you know, grabbing something like you ain't gonna be able to come back and see nothing.
The water kept coming and it rose to the 2nd floor of the Veterans Restoration Quarters and really ruined a lot of the men's homes, the place that they had come to know as home. Right now they've got rooms that they're in and a place that they can take a deep breath and call home for a little while, and we're really glad to have that.
Our pastor had let her know that you all would be here and that we'd have a chance to hand the quilts out. So this is a really wonderful opportunity. And we opened several of them and allowed the men pick out whichever quilt they would like. And they also got a personal care kit. It really clearly brought joy to them.
Lutheran World Relief quilts and kits, being here in the area of Western North Carolina was a godsend. Because one thing that we knew is that we needed to provide these guys a sense of home.
You know, it was just really heartwarming and fulfilling to see, again, to see the work of the hands of so many women and people across the country being used right here locally in North Carolina, where we've had such a devastating storm.
We are grateful to partner with Lutheran World Relief to help keep this a healthy and safe place for these guys as we rebuild.
Also, it's going to remind me of where I've been and where I'm going. I could say, well, I got this when I lost everything, and this is one of the first nicest things I got that gave me something to hold on to in the midst of a crisis. God still blessed me, so, you know, my thing is I just try to share it with everybody else, that's all.
So again, you can see the impact that quilts have for people. Thank you. This is just I'm going to need your help here, Pastor Kurt, also, because I don't have all these numbers that are on the screen up there. But this is in Mali where quilts and kits have been distributed. I don't have videos, but we have pictures so you can see some of it. Is on that screen where it says how many quilts and kits? 47,000 quilts were distributed to this area of Mali and 15,000 school kits. And here are some of the pictures of some of the kids who received those quilts and kits. Our partner for this was the United Nations, and they wanted Lutheran World Relief on all of the bags for some reason. I don't know why. So that's why it's not like one church just happened to do it, and now that's where they got distributed out. Our partner wanted it on. So don't feel like you need to put LWR in all your bags now. That just happened to be the case in this instance. So that is quilts and kits. Any questions so far? Hopefully you have images, right? You've been doing this for decades, for generations, and you get a poster so you have an idea, a picture of where they go. Hopefully it's really bringing more to life and the impact and the difference that you are making when you gather to make these quilts. But we'll move on to emergency humanitarian response in South Sudan. So this is a project that was going on as of January, was funded by the USAID that we ran, that is no longer in existence. So it gives you an idea about the type of work that we do in emergency humanitarian response. And still goes on. This just happened to be, because we don't have video or pictures or images of every project we have going on in the world, right? We have snippets of it. So even after sometimes a project ends, we have to use some of that content to say, here's what are similar to what we're currently doing. Does that make sense? So this woman's name is Nailet Chuol. Similar type of story to what you heard Fila in the DRC early on. Husband was killed due to violence, and her journey to a displacement camp and what she experienced when she got there.
Nailet Shoal has been running for her life ever since she can remember. But last year, her husband was killed in South Sudan's ongoing civil war. She wasn't sure how she could go on with all the challenges mounting against her. For 4 years in a row, the rainy season had brought massive floods that never subsided. 2/3 of the country was covered by water. There was nowhere left for cattle to graze, nowhere for families to plant gardens. Nailet's village ran out of food. The young widow had no choice but to pack up her 5 children and search for a new place to live. For 6 days, the family walked, being chased by violent tribes and carrying nothing but each other. After a journey of nearly 70 miles, they finally arrived at a displacement camp. Here, they found food, shelter, and refuge. But Nailet's challenges weren't over. 2 of her babies, 4-year-old Nayen and 2-year-old Mar, became gravely ill with measles. Fortunately, thanks to your compassion, Lutheran World Relief runs a medical clinic at the camp. Health workers stabilized the children, but they were severely malnourished and needed advanced treatment. The problem? The hospital is only accessible by boat. Nailet's heart sank. She'd walked this far to save her children. Would they die because she didn't have a canoe? Then she learned the camp had a motorboat, purchased by caring congregations like yours. The boat carries medical supplies between camps and serves as an ambulance in emergencies, cutting the 5-hour canoe trip down to 1 hour. Thanks to your generosity, Nayen and Mar arrived at the hospital just in time. Their journey is far from over, but today they are healthy and strong. Thank you for helping families like Nailet's find hope and a chance to thrive. Who will your love reach next?
Right? So, because of the medical clinic that was being run there, her kids were saved because they had access to medicine to save them from measles. Unfortunately, that's one of those situations that is no longer occurring. So that's why we're asking, please keep giving, please keep working on behalf of others. But that gives you an idea about the kind of work we do, that emergency humanitarian response. That is so important. We're getting close to time. It's 2:45, so I said we'll be down there by 3. Don't worry, I like to keep. I'm one of those people, you say a time, keep it to the time. So I know you too, it was 2:04, and you're like, let's move it. So long-term sustainable development. How do we work ourselves out of a job, right? Addressing things at the root causes and lifting people up. You're going to see a story about not Nailet, that's who we just saw. Pop Nadi is her name. Top right is the woman who's going to be speaking. And this is a woman's group that are making mats. So those are those big, tall things that are standing there. And how training, materials, and resources to make these mats is not in improving each individual life, but how it's improving the community as a whole and for generations to come.
हमार नाम छे पवनीवती चौधरी बुनैत रहै छियै गानो गाबै छियै आ बुनैत रहै छियै आ मतलब बैठले रहबै तऽ हमरो के 2टा हाथ से पहिने हमरो के बेरोजगार रहिए तऽ सागुनो लगाइले नहीं भेटै छलै पैसा ता हमरो के सैकियो गठन के लिए पिपरा महिला उद्यमी समूह तो मतलब रोजगारी करे के हमरो के सलाह कर लिए हमरो के मतलब रंग सूत्री कह के हमरो के लिए तालीम ये ओने सब कोइयो करे छै कोइयो बैठल नहीं रहे छै वो इनंग हमरे के संगे संगे सब चीज करे छै साथी छै हमरो के सब गठन करके पटेर काट के आनलिए सुखाइलिए तकरा सब कोइयो मिल के हमरो के व्यापारी आबै छै घरे से ले जाय छै गुंदरी और नहीं हटियो ले जाय छियै आ पहिने कमे दाम में बिकै छलै सर आइ खानो में नहीं पुगै छलै सर बच्चों के पढ़ाई नहीं पुगै छलै की कहै छै जे बिरामियो में नहीं पुगै छलै तऽ ऋण सापटी लै छलियै ओने सिएलै तखनो तऽ बेसी दाम में बेचै छियै बनाइलिए तऽ हमरो बेसी पैसा दै छै ओहो से धियापुता के पढ़ाई ले हेतौ बुझी पूरा सब पुगि जाइ छै घरो बना लेलिए आ नहीं तो ओहिना झुपड़ी घर रहे हमरो के यही करे छी सब पे कोई बचत राखे छे जकरा आवश्यकता पड़े छे इमरजेंसी पड़े छे ओकरे दै छी घुमती समूह में तैया नहीं बाजे सकै छलिए लाज होइ छलै ने घोसरै छलिए नमस्कारो तलिक नहीं करे ले सकै छलिए अखन समूह में हमरो के बैठलिए एकजुटी भेलिए तऽ अखन सब सर सबके नमस्कार करै छियै बाजैयो ले सकै छियै में बहुत बात सिखलिए बहुत बुद्धि भेले बहुत ज्ञान भेले और हमरो के चाहे छियै और देते करते तो गाम घर के लोग के नीक हेतिए से पियो के मतलब और ऊपर माथे
So just a great example of long-term sustainable work. You can see how so many different layers that it's working on, right? To receive training, supplies, so you can make a higher quality product, which means you sell it for a higher price. She also said they don't even have to go to the market. Some people buy right from them, and since they sell it for a higher price and they sell more of them, they now can educate their kids. She has a home, no longer needs to beg if somebody gets sick. And then I love this part about it too, when she talked about like the self-confidence that comes with it. Being ashamed in front of people before, but now able to introduce themselves, to make a point. You know, how that is going to impact the entire community and lift people out of poverty. That's what when you give financially, right? That's what you are doing. You're doing those kind of things. So thank you so much for all of the ways that you give. It matters, and it makes a difference. I would love to be able to tell you more. I just don't have time, but there's a way you can learn more. And you'll, Pastor Randy, Pastor Kurt, you guys will be hearing more about this than everybody else. A big focus of ours going into the next year to talk to people about is girls in school. And this is a project that is just beginning in Sierra Leone, where a lot of girls don't go to school because if the family can't afford it, it's the boys go, not the girls. And what happens with the girls, oftentimes they have to stay home at work. Child marriage is still an issue in lots of parts of the world, or prostitution. And if they get pregnant during that, they get discarded from the family also. So the best way to help keep people out of poverty and to set them up success is through education. And so it's working with local governments and schools to identify those girls, go out and meet them, and then through cash assistance to the family, they have the money so the girls can go to school. So you'll be hearing more about it, and I have a video that explains that that I could share with you, but I'm not going to share it with you now, don't worry. But we'll come back to it. That just explains why this one, girls who stay in school, earning potential 20% more, marry later, less likely to be abused, and healthier, better educated children, right? So it has impacts generations from now. So you'll be hearing more about girls in school, but we're not.
We have
do that yet. What I want to talk about real quick, do you have or have you heard about the Quilt and Kit Affinity Pin? So I have one for everybody here. I want to give everybody one. It's a little way to say thank you. What I am asked, because we don't know everybody who quilts, is, and would you believe, I don't know, maybe you know this, the two ladies that run the Quilt and Kit program for Lutheran World Relief, do you know what their names are? Mary and Martha. Isn't the irony behind it? Mary is the one who heads it, Martha leads it, and there's so much logistically, we just had to hire a third person, and his name is Croach. Leo something, but he goes by Croach. But anyway, so this is what Mary and Martha have asked me to do. We want to continually say thank you. So you're not dependent on me to come and tell you about the work that's being done. So they said, everyone who gets one of these, would you be willing to fill out a card like that? So do we able to get more copies? Yes. Excellent. So when we go down for treats, I'll put some pins out. The cards will be out. Take a pin. If you don't mind filling out a card, that would be great. And as incentive to fill a card out, we'll do a drawing before you leave. 2 people will go home with prizes. Someone goes home with Lutheran World Relief coffee, and someone goes home with Lutheran World Relief chocolate. And it's a quinoa. Chocolate gets a lot bigger response than coffee. It's a quinoa chocolate. Think of Nestle's Crunch, like a puffed rice that's in it. So similar to that. They both come from projects in which we are working as part of our long-term sustainable development. Peru, and this could be from Central America, it could be from Uganda also, but that's a coffee and chocolate. So what we'll do before people head out, we'll take all those cards, we'll pull 2 out, and people will get coffee and chocolate. Sound good? And you all will go in with a pin, and please wear it proudly, whether you quilt, whether it's on Quilting Sunday, or just any time. So there's the chocolate, there's the coffee. We are asking for congregations, this is our 80th anniversary, please prayerfully consider making an extra gift in honor of 80 years of Lutheran World Relief. There's several different ways to do it. 1945, in honor of the year we were started. One of the ways, it's not up there, but how many quilts do you make? Do you make 100 quilts? Do you make 50 quilts? Whatever it might be. Can you find people within the congregation and donate $50 per quilt or $100 per quilt? And that makes it an extra gift that way. But please prayerfully consider an extra gift in honor of 80 years of Lutheran World Relief. But overall, I came to say thank you. I just want you to know how much you are appreciated. Yes. Do we take? Yes. I can't think of any project specifically, but if water is an issue, and that is a feasible way to address it there, then yes, wills could be dug. But yeah. Not Water to Thrive. She was asking, are we involved with Water to Thrive? Not that I am aware of. There's so many organizations. We do a lot with partnering with organizations. I don't believe that's one of them that we are partners with. Yeah, or there's an organization. You're asking details. I don't know how it gets done, but I know as we're working in certain communities and water is an issue, we will address that issue as need be. Yes? No. Are we an outgrowth of Lutheran World Action? Not that I know of. I have not heard that before. Yeah, several did. Many did after World War II. Many organizations. We are separate. And that's another great point. We are a pan-Lutheran organization, right? We are not directly affiliated with LCMC, LCMS, NALC, or the ELCA. As you said, we might disagree on some things, but there ought to be some things we agree on. And how we're one of the few organizations, I think, that we've been able to keep people together and find our commonalities, and let's be stronger, do better work together than we would apart. So we're what's called a pan-Lutheran organization. So I was at Missouri Synod right before this. Yesterday I was in the ELCA congregation, going to ELCA tomorrow. So it's kind of kind of all around. So, last one is our 80th anniversary video in general for Lutheran World Belief.
"80 years ago, our Lutheran forebears had a vision: to join together and be the body of Christ in the world, responding boldly to the needs of our neighbors in Europe after World War II. When they founded Lutheran World Relief in 1945, the outpouring of love was immense. Our grandparents got busy sewing quilts and organizing fundraising drives. Within just 14 years, American Lutherans had provided more than $100 million worth of aid. And we were just getting started. From our parents, we learned to see Jesus in the eyes of a stranger. We learned to stitch and tie and bless our quilts and the people who receive them. We learned to heed the voice that calls us to love our neighbors as ourselves. With each passing year, God opened our hearts to the ever-growing needs in our hurting world. And so, over these 80 years of faithful service, our ministry together has grown. Today, together, we go where no one else goes, to the front lines of war and to places even cars can't reach. And we stay as long as we're needed to help families recover and rebuild. We can't predict where or when the next urgent need may arise, around the world or even in our own backyard. But we know we can always count on you to respond in love and create a brighter future for the next generation, nourishing the hungry, breaking the cycle of poverty, walking alongside families and communities so that everyone has a chance to thrive. Thank you for going farther, staying longer, and continuing the legacy of love that began 80 years ago until your love reaches every neighbor.
Thank you. Thank you for your time this afternoon. Thank you for however often you meet, whether it's once a week every Tuesday morning or it's once a month. Thank you for giving of yourselves, your time, your love, your faith to make a difference. It is appreciated, and I hope you see the difference that it makes. You're welcome. Any questions that we didn't get to or things that came up? You got it. Yeah, about the quilts. It could be, right? I mean, you're in a displacement camp. Privacy is not plentiful, right? So it can be a room divider. There's another video we have where they talk about quilts being used as a floor for children that are suffering from cold, and so they're stunted. They're using their food to keep their bodies warm as opposed to growing. And what they found in studies is that a lot of kids were at home naked or little to no clothes on the floor and on a cold floor. So blankets being used as a carpet in that way. It could be, right? You think about, you're in a displacement camp, you start to gather things, but now you got to move on to the next place. There's your suitcase. So they're using a lot of different ways, more than just a quilt at night. Anything else? All right, then we got snacks. I'll bring the pins down, have them out there. The cards are there so you can fill one out, and then I'll do a drawing. And if you have to leave and you want a pin, please do. Take a pin, just fill it out and go. And you don't have to be present to win. All right? If your name gets drawn up, we'll trust Pastor Randy or Pastor Kurt will get it to the right person. All right, thank you. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome.